It's the beginning of a new year, so I thought this was a good opportunity to talk about launch titles. These are games that released alongside consoles, and were therefore important selling points for the consoles they launched on. Unfortunately, they're usually not very good, but there are those that makes getting a console on launch worth it. For a game to qualify for the list, it obviously must have been a launch title for a gaming system, but I don't need to have played the launch version itself. As long as I play the game at all, it counts. Alright, we're ready to launch. Let's start the countdown. So apparently, the PS3 had a terrible launch, mostly because of its incredibly high price tag, but also because it had complicated hardware to work with. I haven't tried all of its launch titles, but they don't seem that good. I have played what I assume is the best one though, at least the most popular one, which is Resistance Fall of Man. Even though I believe that, I still don't find it that good, because of its restrictive gameplay, bare-bone storyline, and dull visuals. Even so, there was something about it that made me invested enough to finish it, and that's probably why I put it above New Super Mario Bros. U and PGR 3, even though that's not exactly a game you finish. The game did have some cool weapons, and the gameplay had some variety in it, like driving vehicles and dodging landmines. It's no masterpiece, and I much prefer the sequels, but it was entertaining enough, and is an impressive launch title considering all the complications surrounding the PS3. Rayman Origins launched on the PS Vita, which I've never touched, but I have played it on the PS3. Like I said in the beginning, it counts, and luckily so, because I love me some Rayman, and Origins is excellent. I've mentioned before that I have problems with it that prevents it from being among my favorites, but I enjoy it far more than my number 5 on this list. The gameplay is very polished and offers some interesting game design, like switching between big and small, controlling a shooting mosquito, and it has one of the best swimming mechanics in any game. Its art style is pretty nice looking and the music sounds great. I might have some issues with it, and I'd rather play Legends, but I have to give credit where it's due because objectively speaking, Origins is a masterpiece. I've tried playing LEGO games on a handheld before and it just didn't work for me, so I'm glad I can put LEGO Star Wars 3 The Clone Wars on the list, having played the PS3 version instead of the 3DS where it launched. This LEGO game is obviously based off of The Clone Wars, which is definitely the best TV show about Star Wars. Only downside is that the models look a bit ugly, but otherwise it's a cool and varied universe to explore, and the gameplay is every bit as good as before. The wacky cutscenes are there too, without having to use out-of-place voice acting. It also has some interesting exclusive characters and some gameplay gimmicks that I enjoyed a lot. The Clone Wars isn't my favorite LEGO Star Wars, but I'm glad, and even pleasantly surprised that it was made. The Last Jedi hasn't gotten a LEGO game, not yet at least, and a mere show managed to get that treatment, which is pretty crazy now that I think about it. You guys might know that I love Super Mario World. I actually said it's my favorite Mario game, and while that isn't the case anymore, I still think highly of it. This game launched way back on the Super Nintendo, which is a console I've never used, so I'm going with the Game Boy Advance version. This is one of the best 2D platformers of all time, controlling incredibly well, having aged like fine wine. It's super fun but also challenging, especially later on in the game. It also packs a surprising amount of charm despite its age, which I appreciate. I admit the music doesn't have much to offer, but the tunes are engraved into my mind as nostalgia trips, just like every other aspect of the game, being that it was one of the first I ever played. I absolutely love Super Mario World, and it successfully laid the groundwork for the SNES, but there is one launch title that has it beat. There wasn't really any other option than Breath of the Wild, as it stands far above any other launch title, at least from what I've played. The Nintendo Switch really had it good from the start if you ignore 1-2 Switch and only focus on this game. It's one of the most open-ended games out there with the amount of freedom and options you get. Sure, it does have linear elements, but those parts are designed really well and work with the flow of the game. It can get a bit too open-ended sometimes, the music is lackluster, and I wish the save system was handled better, but I can't name many flaws otherwise. It's not my favorite Zelda game, I still prefer Wind Waker, but it comes close, and is among the fantastic lineup that the Switch already has, and the game that started the chain of good Switch games to come. Yeah, it was on the Wii U as well, but the Switch practically killed that console. That's it for my top 5 launch titles, and overall, they're pretty good. That doesn't mean most launch titles are, but there are some really good ones, and I haven't played all the good ones like Super Mario 64 or Halo Combat Evolved. Neither of those games would make me get their respective consoles on launch. I'd need something closer to home. I'll get the PS5 instantly if it launches with Sly 5 for example. Come on Sony, make it happen! I'm Arcadon, and hopefully you'll see me next time.